In a surprising twist, a woman assisted a sick cheetah, and what followed will leave you in awe. Typically, big cats are perceived as hazardous animals that could easily harm anyone who crosses their path, making it difficult to believe that a human and a cheetah could form a bond. Yet this is precisely what occurred in this tale. Olga, an animal-loving woman, worked at a small zoo in Russia. One day, the zoo acquired a male cheetah named Ishel, and everyone eagerly anticipated meeting this magnificent creature and observing how he would react in his new environment. However, something unusual happened when Ishel arrived. Instead of exploring the new surroundings, he lay down right away. The situation worsened the next day when staff members discovered that the cheetah hadn't moved all night. They assumed he was frightened or upset about the relocation, so they attempted to encourage him to move by offering breakfast, but he refused to eat. This immediately raised alarm bells, and the staff promptly contacted a veterinarian to examine Ishel and determine if something was wrong. The vet conducted a health examination on Ishel and informed the concerned staff that the cheetah was breathing heavily, suggesting a more severe case of pneumonia resulting from a cold picked up during transportation to the zoo. The vet recommended immediate medication for Ishel to combat the virus, but it wasn't a straightforward solution. The big cat refused to eat or drink, making it impossible for him to receive the necessary medication to aid in his recovery. The longer Ishel went without treatment, the more his health deteriorated. He lost weight, his fur lost its luster, and his eyes became red. Whenever he tried to stand up, his legs would give way, causing him to fall to the ground. The zoo employees were anxious about Ishel's condition and didn't know how to help him since he refused to eat or drink. Olga, a woman who loved animals, was the most concerned of all. Realizing that time was running out and the cheetah was at risk of dying, Olga proposed the idea of hand-feeding Ishel to ensure he received the necessary medication. However, the zookeepers disapproved of the idea, fearing the unpredictable nature of wild animals when they're sick or injured. Despite the concerns of her colleagues, Olga saw no other option to nurse Ishel back to health. One day, when the keepers were away from Ishel's enclosure, Olga snuck in and opened the cage door. She approached the cheetah, who remained motionless, and offered him a piece of meat she had brought with her. However, the cheetah bared his teeth, indicating that he wanted to be left alone. Despite this setback, Olga remained determined to help Ishel and persisted in her efforts to hand-feed him. Olga attempted to make the meat more enticing for Ishel by soaking it in water. To her amazement, the cheetah licked the water off the meat and even took a small bite. Although it was only a small amount of food, it was the first thing the cheetah had eaten in a while. After the bite, Ishel turned away from Olga and the food. Although it was a small victory, Olga was overjoyed. She closed the cage and immediately went to the vet to get medicine for the cheetah. Olga had a plan to administer the medicine without the cheetah knowing. She would mix a little bit of medicine with the meat soaked in water that she would feed to Ishel. Unaware of the change in his food, Ishel ate the meat and soon began to recover. He became more active and aware after taking the medicine, and he continued to improve over time. When Ishel first arrived, he appeared more curious about his surroundings. A few days later, when Olga arrived with some meat to feed him, the cheetah got up from his spot and went to greet her. He bumped his head into her legs, as if to say thank you. Olga was astounded and happily petted the big cat on his head. As she did this, the animal purred like a kitten. From then on, Olga entered Ishel's cage daily and was greeted each time by the loving big cat. She knew that they had formed a strong bond and that Ishel eagerly awaited her arrival every day, like a long-lost friend. As things were looking up for Ishel, Olga couldn't be more pleased. She had saved the life of this amazing animal, and he was clearly more than grateful to her for doing it. However, everything took a turn for the worse during the summer, a year after Ishel was first introduced to the small zoo. They made a decision that broke the hearts of both Olga and the cheetah. The zoo told Olga that they simply didn't have enough money to keep the big cat. They couldn't afford to house, feed him, or give him any medicine that he might need in the future for any ailments he might get. Knowing that the animal couldn't stay with them, the zoo revealed that they had sold Ishel to a circus. It wasn't long after Ishel's sale that he was taken away to his new home. On the day of his collection, they loaded him up onto a transport cage. As if he knew he was going to be separated from his best friend, Ishel thrashed about and growled. Olga was heartbroken and couldn't hold back her tears as she watched the beautiful animal be taken away. Because the circus traveled around the country, Olga didn't know where it would be from one moment to the next. That meant she couldn't visit him. 4 long years passed when the news that a circus was back in town reached Olga's ears. She heard the circus was bringing some of their animals to the zoo so that they could be filmed. She also overheard that a blind cheetah was being brought in along with the rest of the animals. It turned out that the animal had lost its sight 2 years prior after a serious illness had taken hold. Luckily, the cheetah had survived. Olga soon learned that the animal was in a nearby room. She couldn't believe her luck. Was this really Ishel? She hurried after a circus employee to the room where the big cat was being housed. When Olga entered the room, the cheetah was initially indifferent to her presence and continued eating. However, as soon as she inquired about the feline to a circus employee, the animal perked up, stopped eating, and turned towards her voice. The cheetah let out a sharp meow, capturing everyone's attention. Overjoyed, Olga ran to the cage and quickly opened it, entering to reunite with the friend she thought she had lost forever. Ishel was just as happy to see her and made his way over to the woman he cared so much about, nudging her legs and purring into her hands. Amazingly, after 4 years, the cheetah still remembered his old friend. This heartwarming story shows that kindness, care, and compassion can go a long way, regardless of the species. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing stories.